Hello there, my name's Mark and these are my Dice Tales, and this is another sped up, slowed down battle report of me learning Kings of War. I've been playing with a small group of about 5 to 6-ish people. We've been playing at 10 mil half scale, and we've also transferred to full footprints and played at full scale as well with some other members of other clubs. And it's been going great. I've really sort of taken to it like a duck to water. Really enjoyed the list building aspect and changing things up to see how it really changes how your army plays on the board. So I've done it a time lapse. I'm going to try and put comments and talk over that time lapse. There'll be timestamps below to go to each of the turns. And yeah, let's see you on the other side for the outcome. This is Dwarves versus Elves. This is the push scenario. We rolled badly, so we've only got 3 objectives, 1 in the middle and 1 for each of us to choose who to give to. So I think you could have had possibly like 3... You could have potentially had 7 objective tokens, but we've only got 3 on the way it rolled. So let's see how it goes. My army list. Trying something different. So in the last video, I said I didn't like my bolt throwers. So what did I do? I've tripled it. I've got 3 bolt throwers in this mission. Let's see how that does. And also, because I was playing the dwarves, I have gained this. I knew I was playing the dwarves this time. So I knew he would have lots of spears because he knows I'm going to bring my dragons and such. I contemplated the trees, and I contemplated, full infantry. But instead, I've gone with just 1 singular dragon lord and mostly infantry. I found a list online that sort of recommended, 3rd edition is new, the new changes. Should I just go with 3 hordes of Palace Guard? And I've actually gone with 2 hordes of Palace Guard, 2 regiments of Palace Guard, and they've all got the strength 5. I'm not messing around with that strength 4 crushing strength. But I want to back them up with a little team. After I played the video and watched it back, I've got a little team of adventurers. They're the 2 standard bearers and a wizard. 1 standard bearer just giving inspiring, well, the other one does too, but the other standard bearer has got the Loot of Darkness, which can cast Bane Chant, I'm really liking. And then a wizard with Heal and Lightning, so a bit of a utility boat there. So let's cover the lists next, and then go into the deployments, timestamps below, of course, and then see you on the end chat. Max Dice Tales, goodbye. The lists. So here we have the dwarf list. So this isn't the complete list, this is just 1 of every unit. I'll try and see if he's got 3 or 4 of them. So berserkers, they're pretty nasty, I hate them. Ironclads, how many of them did he have? 2 regiments of those. Oh, by the way, a lot of these are carrying throwing mastiffs, so if he gets up close, he can literally do an alpha strike of ranged very quickly. Shield breakers, blooming... They're the only things with defense 4. Everything else has got defense 5. He had 3 standard bearers, 1 with mind fog. What else did he have on there? We'll get to that. 3 swarm regiments of hunting packs. Faber Ironheart, a little dwarf in a mech that can shoot and is defense 6. Yikes. The Royal Guard formation. A dwarf stone priest who can see over the top of his units. And mind fog. Then my elves. Right, so I did go with 3 bolt throwers because I knew I was facing dwarves and I knew I needed to pierce their high defense. I decided, let's try 3 bolt throwers. Will it work? And also I went for hordes. Again, something that I'm just going against what I said in my last video where we're playing lots of small units. I found a list online that went with like 4 hordes. I'm just going with 2 hordes and then 2 regiments of Palace Guards. 1 with the Hammer of Measured Force, 1 regiment with Crushing Strength. I just sort of spattered a lot of magical items around because I had points left at the end that I couldn't quite fit anything in. Sea Guard I like, and I really like the Piercing Arrow. Quicksilver Lancers, never go without them. I toyed with the trees, and then I went with the Dragon Lord Kindred just to try and get those back charges or flank charges. Elven King, and I've given him a magical item of Fireball. And then 2 standard bearers, 1 with Insatiable Darkness to give me Bane Chant. After this game, I'm thinking I need a wizard with Bane Chant, don't I? Okay, and this is it. This is the game. Okay, so how did the game go? So I'm going to try and narrate over this. I'm not going to really do a turn by turn. Here we're seeing the deployment. He's got so much more units than me. I don't think even the Scrying Gem would help at this point. So we've got sharpshooters down the bottom. I'm just cutting off the bottom of the map. The table wasn't quite long enough to get the full scope, but it's literally only a couple of inches. So just off the camera, just behind the dice tower there. There will be a bolt thrower, then the Quicksilver Lancers. I'm going to throw up all the names of the units in a moment, probably in turn 1, and it will disappear in their approximate positions. But it's pretty much a big battle line. There are all the units, etc. Where I've just listed the heroes, they're probably behind the units, so I can't quite get the exact placements. And as I go through, I might sort of pop up whether something was wavered or killed. But I'll try not to have too much text on the board. A usual turn 1, turn 2 scenarios where we sort of occasionally move up and try and work out who's going to do the first charge. So moving up to the out of charge range initially. Then his shooters go into my Palace Guard, the one with the measured force, the big one. And in my own turn, I'll be using heal to try and heal some of that up with a Conjuring Staff. I've given... who does he have his token on? One of the hordes in the middle, I think. I've given my token to my Sea Guard at the top there, just below the dragon. And there's one in the middle. Yeah, where is his token? I can't remember. I think he's got one of his smaller troop units behind, because they move even slower when they've got a token on. All right, I initially moved my Quicksilver up because I want him to bring those flanks in, and then I want to use my maneuverability to run around him. Now my dragon's just done a breath weapon on the massive dogs that are out front, which can charge me next turn, and I've only wavered them, which is very annoying. I think the Sea Guard tried to pepper them as well, so it might have been a breath weapon. And my bolt throwers, one of them moved. I think one of them has gone into the Berserkers at the bottom, and one of them into Mist, because the Dwarf Berserkers at the top, very, very top, just by turn 2, was in cover, unfortunately. So even with the elite reroll, I'm not too sure what I'm doing with my 2 Palace Guard regiments in the forest. I don't know whether they would have been better out front. Looking back at it now, I do think pull them down to the wall where the dice tower is and move. So my Quicksilver could have gone maybe into the main battle, while my Palace Guard deal with the Berserkers and the flanks unit. But obviously that's a what if after scenario. You're doing the best as you can when you panic when a train's in front of you. You think, what the heck am I doing? 2 hills opposite each other like that. I did move one of my bolt throwers forward onto the hill, so it had a better range of everything. But because he was just blasting them off, they were basically target number 1 for him. There we go. So now, this is me playing for the scenario. My Quicksilver are moving off because just below the camera, just below that forest, there is an ironclad unit with a Mastiff unit, and that Mastiff unit is trying to take the victory tokens into my zone. So if I want to take that victory token off him if possible. But it will mean me charging over a pond, but I do have the Boots of Striding. His second turn, he wavered my Palace Guard with further shooting and from his mech unit, Mecha Dwarf. So my heroes have had to move through that, and they're making a line in front. I didn't bother healing the unit this time. Instead, I wanted to try and waver the Berserkers with the lightning bolts, the ones at the south there. And he did allow me to do a re-movement of my Dwarf King, so you might see my Dwarf King move and try and stay out of range initially. But then I wanted to get his Ring of Dragonkind to do a fireball on Berserkers. See if we can get them off with a lightning bolt and a fireball, and the bolt thrower, which is what the arrow down there was depicting. Where are we up to now? I think we're going into combat. Why has it got a token on him? Could have been Shattered. I think Shattered from the fireball. That was that token. So Shattered is like the Mind Fog equivalent, I think. So Battle up top feels good for the Dwarf Elves this turn. The dragon has taken out one of his ironclad units, probably his weakest unit, to be honest. Then my Horde has charged his other regiment. So 2 regiments are going to go from the Dwarves. And then my Horde with measured strength, with the measured axe, and the dwarf horde with the measured axe are now facing off against each other. Unfortunately, I'm 2 regiments into him. Yeah, sorry, it's my 2 regiments of Palace Guard into his horde. I think the reason for so much damage, he's going to start throwing dogs at me at some point. And that might have been last time, I might have missed it. So he's throwing mastiffs. It's a crazy, crazy rule. And now his little shield breakers are coming in, and he's managed to get that flank. I didn't quite get to fireball or lightning bolt those berserk off the table. So that's probably it for those little regiments. Palace Guards, unfortunately. See how long they can hang on. My king's going to go around into his standard bearer using the nimbles. Again, avoiding the flanks unit, who's too slow. And it's pretty much it. I think we're pretty much set for the game there. This is literally duking it out. So my Bane's chance failed for the first 2 turns. So I've got my horde without the magic item versus his Fabermech dwarf mech. So they're just needing 6s on wounds, which is really annoying. And my Bane chance fail for 2 turns, and then kicking on the 3rd turn when they finally, 3rd or 4th turn when they finally take him out. And he's trading blows with my horde, and my dragon is caught up with the flanks unit. So we're all pretty much locked in without much movement at this point. I think there one of my Palace Guard have just gone, and now, unfortunately, off the camera, I'm gonna squeeze it onto the camera in the final turns. But my Quicksilver, they come around. I think his little banner there at the bottom, standing out in the middle, is also sort of doing some sort of mind scroll of some kind. I don't know how he got off. Was it just sharpshooters shooting at my bolt thrower? I'm not too sure, because they're outside of any inspiring, so they might have just been lucky rolls to get them off. I did feel like I rolled poorly this game. Even my opponents said I rolled poorly this game. Those waivers were really quite shocking. I think I waver the berserkers here again. So my horde picks up, it's recovered, it's been healed again, and it's come in and taken on the berserkers, and I only waver them. Do I even waver them? I think I'm 1 point off wavering them, so they can actually strike back. And his sharpshooters at the top, they're getting a little bit redundant. There's not a lot that they can shoot at. I think my dragon's too big to see past, to hit the sea guard. So it's my sea guard playing with the berserkers up top. You can just see the charge, 45-degree angle right underneath turn 3 there. So let's see, token-wise. I'm playing for the token on the bottom, just off the table. My sea guard have got the one at the top, thinking they've got plenty of time to march it away from the majority of the forces. They just need to survive being shot at, unless the dragon can take out the flanks unit and maybe turn on those shooters. That's possibly what I'm thinking here. But it would really, really gritty, grindy. Yeah, this is probably my first grindy game with two huge forces just meeting and battling it out. So I didn't really get to use my bolt throwers. I didn't see an effectiveness, unless apart from they were sort of targets. So that really shows that they could do some damage. And I still like the idea of trying to get it onto the hill, because then it could have shot over the heads of its units, I think. It could have gone into the shooters at the back. The ironclads that were behind the units that are coming into play after the units get killed and taken off. So yeah, it's not an impossible plan. Again, they're not scoring points on other missions. And I also regret not bringing in a forest unit. So I could have got... So my charge at the very beginning there on turn 2, I had to have the +1. +1 to hit, because I was hindered. Whereas if I had a forest pathfinder unit, the forest guard, I might have had that thunderous charge and not had the -1 to hit. But as I say, this list was trying to keep that keep that theme of a horde of palace guards. So 2 hordes of palace guards and 2 regiments of palace guards. So it's getting tight now. The elves are now getting killed and sort of losing the grind. This is probably not the most grindy list you could have played, but I'm sure it's not far from it. What would you have done better? And if you're just playing dwarves exclusively, what is your anti-dwarf list? You see, there's just so many units that flyers couldn't get in there; they'll be shot off the table. It's a tricky one that I go to bed with nightmares about, I think. Right, I'm being pushed, and I need to I'm sort of being pushed into that top right flank now. Oh, and also deployment-wise, I was thinking, I was trying to think battle lore where there's like left, middle, and right, and trying to have an inspiring unit. I really did miss Rognar giving his inspiring anywhere, and also having his reroll. I seem to remember his reroll, thinking I could have really done with his reroll. And also, he could have stayed back with possibly bolstering 2 of the bolt throwers for inspiring until he needed to move. So that might be a change in the list. And yeah, so he's mind fogging me. I'm bane chanting myself. I finally got the bane chant on. I finally got the bane chant on when I'm fighting another horde now. But my heroes are sort of backing up, healing as they go, bane chanting as they go. Those barrels in the middle of the objective, and I think he's sort of dropped it for some reason. Probably because the berserkers might have been shot off with a lightning bolt. I'm not too sure what his thoughts were there. There you go. You see, he's passed it off. And yeah, here we go. This is almost like the final battles. Quicksilver look like they've taken out the dogs, but the dogs have passed on the token to the ironclad behind. I'm now thunderous charging. As I say, this is where I'm clipping the pond behind, but I think we don't lose thunderous charge because that was from last turn. But I might have been wounded, and I'm not too sure on the play here. I can't quite tell from the video because we're rolling off the camera. And I've also lost a view of the top side, but it's pretty much end game. I think we're in end game. My Sea Guard have forced off the berserkers at the top. I'm about to wipe off the ironclad at the bottom, so I've got the victory point. And now it's all, is there going to be a turn 7, sorry. And there's not. That's it. The final roll, 2 in the middle, no turn 7. I've got 2 victory points. He's got 1. Whew, what a game. Let's go to the end chats. Okay, what a game. Right, I just want to quickly cover some mistakes that were made. At the end of the game, my opponents, the Dwarves, actually went in 60 points down, so he left one of his dog models off the board. Could have been pivotal if that was on that left flank, protecting that other dog and that other little dwarf unit, which held the objective, which my Quicksilver Lancers managed to take out, which caused me the win. Could have been a changer. So I won despite having almost 3 units on the board. Well, 2 units, and then my characters who don't have unit strength. But luckily, the turn 6 didn't turn into a turn 7, so everyone packed up and went home, and the elves took the banner. So it was a sweat. It was a slog. I like it when games turn out like that. I guess sort of narratively, I feel like I've lost because I've just obliterated. My eyes were focused on the objective most of the time. That's why my Quicksilvers didn't go off charging into the melee in the center right. They wasted turns. They went around that dice tower building, and they knew they had to take out those dogs. My bolt throwers, I really don't know how they performed because they were targeted from the start, and then my opponent brought something I'd never seen before. Mind fog. He doesn't have casters, but he used these magic item on his dwarves. And now he's seen me using Bane Chant. He's going to be using Bane Chant next in his next game, which I'm shockingly, I don't want him to do. That would be shocking if he starts using Bane Chant. He already hits me on 3 pluses. He doesn't need it anymore. I need it because he's got high strength. Maybe he can take it. That'll be a good thing. Maybe it'd be a nice waste of points for him. I don't know, but This game was also a bit of an experiment with standard bearers doing more than just standing around waving a flag. So yeah, Bane Chant. I think there were other abilities in there. The heal. It's a bit expensive, 25 scripts of healing. And when I was experimenting with lists, I was considering the life leech as well. But there's a few other little banner type. The boomstick would be one. But yeah, it was an interesting game. It sort of went with a bang at the start when my dragon flew in, the hordes flew in. I'm not too sure if should have really taken the third palace horde, which I broke into regiments just to try and fill in smaller gaps. Because at the end of the last game, we were wondering, do lots of smaller units, is it just our small clique of gamers which are experiencing that? But I mean, I pulled out the win with 2 hordes at least. So I'm rambling and babbling on that bit. Another turning point. I think my opponent says, I've got to watch the video back again to check this, but my opponent says I used Thunderous Charge on those Quicksilver Lancers to take out the Dwarves, and I think I was wounded and we shouldn't have considered Thunderous Charge. We were also contemplating other rules at that point, which is why it was missed, in that I was clipping the pond for unsteady terrain. So was I hindered and would have lost Thunderous Charge? We decided because I was counter-charging, I wasn't passing through it, so I kept my Thunderous Charge, but then because of this little to and fro, is that the rules? We then forgot that I was wounded. But I'm not too sure if I was wounded by the shooters or the dogs the turn before. I'm not too sure if his dwarves whiffed it. So we'll see that in the video and comment below what turned out. But what else went wrong? So he missed out 60 points of dogs. I mean, if that was there, if there were 2 dogs and the dwarven unit, could my of lancers have stolen that and then gotten to the other side with that victory token? And what was the other one? Back when we look at the right flank and I was defending the token with, I'm sure we missed out something with the Berserkers and the Sea Guard. Can't quite remember what it was. It's gone. I've lost it. It was last night's game. I've lost it doing the video today. I wanted to try and do it fresh so I'd remember everything. Anything happen in the middle? He had a new sort of dwarf titan that can fire and shoot and has defense 6. Ridiculous. That tied up my my basic Palace Guard unit, so they didn't have a measured force or anything. And my measured force took on his horde unit. It's a good battle. There were a few points where in previous games we would have probably had another unit cramming in. Where on this one, that unit held back, so we think it couldn't have actually pivoted in successfully. So we're getting better at the pivots. We're still being a bit lenient on things as well. And the dragon just being stuck, he couldn't fly behind. I mean, the other game, because I've got 3 flying units, you've got that options. One's going to get locked down. The others can do the flyover and start shaking up your opponent. His dwarf shooters, I was always afraid of those. I mean, they can shoot across the map. They can shoot my bolt throws. I thought my bolt throws on the back line would have at least outranged them, but they don't. So I really don't like those dwarf sharpshooters at all. But in the final turns, they couldn't shoot at anything because everything was locked in combat. So yeah, do any elf players? What do you think of my list? What do you think has to change? I'm thinking definitely the 3 bolt throwers against trying to swap in a wizard, maybe a wizard with Bane Chant. I do love Conjurer's Staff for possibly Bane Chant and heal, and with the Master of Magic, so I can reroll 1s, I can reroll a 2 and 3 potentially. I think that's going to mean I'm pretty much going to get a heal or a Bane Chant off most turns, unless I'm very unlucky. I felt quite unlucky with the dice. The Dragon Breath, not wavering the dogs. The Silverwind Cavalry, Silver Lancers, Quicksilver Lancers, not taking out the dogs on the first charge and just wavering them. The extra +1 on his Shattered Mind Fog, just literally tipping me over edge and wavering my guys to retreat. It was pretty cool. So one thing about that 60-point dogs not appearing, that's a funny bit, because there's another rule set, the Fantastic Battles, where you roll at the start of the game to see if your unit turns up or not, or if it just couldn't be asked. Am I allowed to say that? It couldn't be asked turning up. Fantastic. he's getting drunk in the tavern or something like that. So his dogs got lost or something. They couldn't turn up to the battle. So I like that bit. I like those randomness. I know this is, and I like to sort of bring that in a bit more. So it's pretty cool. Anyway, that's it. What was my opponent's feel? He enjoyed it. He like I say, he's picked up new tactics. I'm picking up new tactics. Did I say that my opponents, this little small clique, they're all Malfo players, and they're all in the top 16. So I'm playing with highly competitive people. I'm just sort of casually bumbling along. I like to just throw my hose. I play solo, so my opponent's not very bright, and he just generally charges at me. So yeah, it's an interesting dynamic playing, but I'm really loving the list building, as I say. I do want to get another army to the table. So my most painted army is the undead. So if I can base those for Kings of War now, I'm not too bothered about playing for the tournaments. Well, I'm practicing anymore. I think I know enough that I can learn from the elves at this point. So let's see if I can change things up, get some surge shenanigans with undead in future battles. It may not be straight away. I don't know how long it'll take me to rebase, and if I've got the right units for what I want to play. And I am sort of sculpting some Night Stalkers because they don't have form and they're very... I think I can get away with things looking oddly sculpted and my basic just blocking form of sculpting at the moment. I'm not into that level of detail. So it's just sort of bulbous strands. I can really get away with the muscles not looking right. So I'm getting there. It might be way off. It might be 2025. I really want to get it out soon, but it's... I'm just trying out the Tormentors, because they can be used. I could then drop them into Twilight Kin. So I've got some Dark Elves. They'll need painting, of course. I've got a lot of grey 10mm armies, really. So yeah, that's it. It was an enjoyable game. It could have gone either way, I think. Yeah, because he dropped his objective for another dwarf to pick up, but he's quite slow, so he couldn't get it to the other side. And then it was a dice roll. I had both the objectives on my side because my Quicksilver Cavalry didn't quite roll enough to, after they killed the dwarf unit, to go into the opponent's side. And then if we rolled that there were more objective tokens, I think the dwarves would have taken it. So it's the possibilities of the what ifs are out there. Anyway, still a very enjoyable game. I think we played the Warrington Club. We were playing at the Warrington Games Club. There were lots of Warhammer 40k, Warcry, Blood Bowl, mostly Warhammer things. I don't know if anyone... Necromunda, I think I saw. And I don't think I saw anything else that wasn't. I think we were the only non-Games Workshop there. I don't know if that's correct or not. But it was a very full club, very nice environment. So I'll put them on here if you're in the Northwest. It's a nice gaming club. And yeah, that's it. I think we're there. So we played the push, where we need to take our objective tokens to the other side to score points. And there was one objective token in the middle that was up for grabs for either side. I played a fairly horde-heavy list. My opponent played a small unit list. I pulled off the win just barely, and a win without any units left. Is that typical for elves? Am I meant to have no units left? Am I just meant to sort of be surgical, go in there, have an objective, and then hope turn 7 doesn't roll around? It seems to be the case. I seem to have no units left. And I know if it ever comes to a tournament, that having units left is one of the tiebreakers. So it worries me from a tournament, but because I'm a casual, more of a narrative player event, I'm not too bothered. And yeah, yada, yada, yada. Too much chat. Tell me what you thought of the game and if I can improve. I'm trying to do a lot more. My last one was a bit shoddy and got cut off. Let's hope this one hasn't done. So Mark's Dice Tales, signing off. Thanks for the game. Goodbye.